There is a silent force capable of forever changing the way you experience each moment. This force does not arise from pretending everything is fine, nor from forcing a manufactured happiness, much less from trying to suppress uncomfortable thoughts and feelings. True transformation happens when you choose to explore the deeper layers of your own being. When you stop looking for superficial solutions and understand that the change you seek is not in what happens outside of you, but in the way you interpret and respond to what happens. Throughout life, some people develop a serenity that seems almost unattainable, while others remain trapped in spirals of reactivity in the face of every small obstacle. This contrast is not the result of chance, nor merely of life circumstances, but of a fundamental difference. While some are unknowingly dominated by their internal worlds, others learn to become masters of their emotions, their thoughts, and their interpretations. Many still believe that their emotions are automatic and inevitable reactions to external events. They think the world is a fixed and objective reality, and that what they feel is just a natural consequence of what happens to them. However, the reality you live is, in fact, an interpretation shaped by invisible layers accumulated throughout your history, your beliefs, your traumas, your fears, and your expectations. It's as if you look at life through colored lenses, and the color of these lenses alters everything you see. If your filters are tinted by fear, every gesture will seem like a threat. If they are shaped by guilt, every success will feel undeserved. It's not the world that limits you, but the filters through which you see it. When you understand that your perception is a creation, not an imposition, something extraordinary happens. You discover that you are not condemned to automatically react the same way every time. You can consciously change the way you interpret what happens to you, and in that silent choice lies true freedom. Freedom not to be carried away by anger. Freedom not to be dragged by anxiety. Freedom to live with authenticity, even when the world around you seems to push you in opposite directions. This transformation is not about eliminating uncomfortable emotions, nor about becoming indifferent to life. It's about developing the ability to observe your emotions without being dominated by them. It's about realizing at the moment an emotion arises that you have a choice to react on autopilot or to respond from an expanded awareness. It's not about suppressing what you feel, but about welcoming what you feel with attention and presence, and choosing how to act from there. Imagine a simple situation. Someone criticizes your work. One person feels ashamed and withdraws, another feels attacked and responds aggressively, while a third person hears the criticism and, even feeling the initial discomfort, manages to extract valuable learning from it. What changes between these three reactions is not the criticism itself, but the meaning each one assigns to it. What each person sees is not raw reality, but reality filtered through their own internal maps. These emotional maps are formed from childhood. Every word we hear, every experience we live, every emotion that was not understood becomes a contour, a lens through which we see the world. A person who was heavily criticized in childhood without emotional support may carry within them a filter of inadequacy, and any criticism, even constructive, triggers this old pain. Another, who was encouraged with care and respect, can receive criticism without feeling threatened in their identity. The journey to becoming unshakable begins by recognizing that these filters exist and that you can learn to see them in action. Every strong emotion is an opportunity for discovery, not an enemy to be fought. Anger is not a sign of weakness, but may indicate that a boundary was crossed. Fear is not a mistake, but a warning that something needs more attention. Sadness is not a burden to be hidden, but a natural process of internal renewal. When you stop fighting your emotions and start listening to them with respect, you discover that they are allies in your growth process. Nothing, absolutely nothing that happens externally has the power to deeply hurt you if you learn to master the space between what happens and how you choose to interpret it. This space is where your real strength resides. From the moment you consciously take control of your interpretation of events, life ceases to be a succession of threats and uncontrollable challenges and becomes a continuous journey of inner expansion and maturity. True serenity is not born from the absence of challenges, but from the ability to face challenges with awareness, wisdom, and courage. When you learn to be the observer of your own mind, instead of being swept away by the winds of emotion, you find a center that nothing and no one can shake. This center is your birthright, but to access it, you must unlearn many of the automatic reactions life has taught you. Every time you feel anger, fear, or sadness, a door opens within you. The choice to walk through it or not is in your hands. True strength is not about hardening against life, but about keeping your heart open to it, without getting lost in the whirlwind of passing emotions. Many believe that controlling emotions means repressing them or pretending they don't exist. But true emotional mastery is not denial, it is integration. It's not about silencing anger or ignoring fear, but about learning to listen to them consciously and compassionately. Every emotion that emerges brings with it a message, and when you allow yourself to listen without judgment, without trying to quickly eliminate the discomfort, you begin to discover hidden riches in your own inner world. You cease to be just a passenger at the mercy of emotional storms and become the navigator who, even in strong winds, keeps the course steady. Imagine that each difficult emotion is like a letter left at your door. You can ignore it, tear it to pieces, or choose to open and read it carefully. Most people live tearing up these letters, trying to go on with life as if nothing had been delivered. But those who dare to read what is written discover precious clues about where they need to grow, where they are still trapped in old patterns, where true freedom still needs to be conquered. It is common to think that if we avoid fear, it will go away, or that if we pretend we are not hurt, the pain will dissipate. However, ignoring emotions is like trying to cover the sun with your finger. They continue to exist and often grow stronger in the underground of the mind. Instead, when you approach fear, when you face sadness or acknowledge anger without fear, something dissolves. The emotion loses its control over you because it has finally been recognized. We are not taught to do this. From an early age, we learn that it's not nice to feel angry, that being afraid is a sign of weakness, or that crying is a problem to be quickly solved. These messages shape a relationship of rejection with our own emotional humanity. And it is this rejection that perpetuates suffering, not the emotion itself. Chronic suffering is born from the struggle against what is naturally part of life. When you change this relationship, something extraordinary begins to happen. You discover that you can be with fear without being paralyzed by it. You can allow sadness to wash over your heart without being dragged into despair. You can welcome anger as a guardian of your boundaries without becoming its slave. It's not about romanticizing suffering, but about seeing it with broader eyes, as a natural process, as a crossing, as part of your evolution. Carl Jung warned us that what we leave in the unconscious governs our life without us realizing it. Every emotion we try to hide becomes a hidden commander, shaping decisions, sabotaging relationships, creating invisible traps in our path. Bringing these emotions to the light of consciousness is like freeing yourself from chains you didn't even know you were wearing. It is allowing your choices to be made from clarity and not from fear disguised as protection. The practice of mindful attention to emotions can begin very simply. Instead of asking yourself, "Why am I feeling this?" try asking, "What is this emotion trying to show me?" Instead of trying to get rid of the discomfort as quickly as possible, allow yourself to breathe with it. Observe where it manifests in the body, what emotional story it carries. These questions are not just techniques, they are keys that open doors to real freedom. Now, if this message has touched something in you, I invite you to be part of this more conscious transformation. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue building together this space of growth and emotional maturity. And take this moment to interact. Tell us in the comments which emotion you find most difficult to welcome without resistance. You don't need to write a long text, just share sincerely. You might be surprised at how much this simple act of expression can bring relief and even inspire others in our community. Let's now go even deeper. Let's understand how to cultivate an inner state so stable that even when the world seems to collapse, you remain connected to a peace that no one can take away from you. And that is exactly where true strength lies. Within each of us, there is a silent presence that observes everything we feel and think. This presence is not affected by emotions, nor shaped by passing thoughts. It remains constant, like the bottom of the ocean that stays calm even as waves stir on the surface. Cultivating a conscious connection with this deep part of yourself is perhaps the greatest gift you can give yourself, because it is there that you find the unshakable balance point, the firm foundation that no word, circumstance, or loss can take from you. Most people live disconnected from this presence. They confuse themselves with their momentary emotional states, believe they are their anger, their fear, their sadness. When something hurts them, they feel as if their very essence is being destroyed. But the truth is, you are not your emotions. You are the one who feels. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who thinks. This small shift in perspective is enough to open a new dimension of inner freedom. When you recognize that you can observe an emotion arising instead of blindly identifying with it, you begin to see that there is a choice, there always has been, in how you want to live each experience. This awareness creates a precious space between stimulus and response. Something happens. You feel the automatic reaction forming. But before acting, you observe, you breathe. You allow the wave of emotion to rise, reach its peak, and then naturally begin to recede. Without this practice, the emotion drags you like a furious current. With it, you become like a rooted tree, able to feel the strongest wind without being uprooted. The practice of the inner observer does not mean becoming cold or indifferent. On the contrary, it means living even more intensely but from a place of choice and not automatism. It means feeling anger without becoming anger, feeling fear without being swallowed by fear, feeling sadness without drowning in sadness. Each emotion is a wave that comes and goes. You are the entire ocean. This change in your relationship with your own emotions opens a new level of presence in life. Criticism stops being open wounds and becomes information you can use or discard as your awareness decides. Losses stop being irreparable breaks and become spaces of renewal and transformation. Conflicts stop being personal battles and become opportunities to understand more about yourself and others. From this perspective, even the deepest pain can be integrated and on some level transformed. What changes your life is not the emotions you feel, but what you do with them. When you get used to naming your emotions instead of being dominated by them, when you allow yourself to fully feel them without judgment, you begin to transmute that energy to build something new. Instead of sinking into frustration, you can use the energy of anger to set healthy new boundaries. Instead of being paralyzed by fear, you can use it as a compass to strengthen your preparation and courage. This inner work is not something that happens overnight. It requires patience, practice, and a sincere commitment to your own growth. Sometimes it will be easy. In other moments it will feel impossible. But each small inner victory, each time you choose to observe instead of react, each time you welcome a difficult emotion instead of fighting it, you grow stronger. Root by root, you transform into something solid, resilient, and above all free. It's natural that along this journey you may feel like giving up. Old automatic reactions are powerful because they have been fed for years. But each conscious breath, each moment of presence, each choice of acceptance is like lighting a candle in a dark room. Little by little, what once seemed uncontrollable loses its power over you. And what once felt so threatening reveals itself as just another part of the dance of life. If you feel that this path resonates with what you seek, if you sense that there is something inside you calling for this freedom, remember, you are not alone. Every step you take in this direction is a step that also resonates in the lives of everyone around you. Your conscious presence becomes a silent gift to the world. Your ability to be stable in the midst of chaos inspires, even without words, those who still feel lost in their own storms. In the next moment, we will expand this vision even further, exploring how to strengthen your inner center in practical ways, even on emotionally stormy days. We'll talk about how small daily changes can consolidate a peace so solid that, regardless of what happens outside, your inner world remains in balance. Strengthening your inner center is like strengthening the roots of a tree before the storm arrives. It is not during the easy hours that you develop this stability, but in the daily exercise of attention and presence in the face of the small emotions that arise. Each time you allow yourself to fully feel without judging, without running away, you are training the mind and heart to remain open, even in the face of the strongest winds. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes to act from awareness instead of reaction. A powerful way to start this strengthening is through the simple practice of inner listening. Instead of rushing to react or distract yourself when something uncomfortable arises, pause for a few moments. Close your eyes if you can. Ask yourself honestly, what exactly am I feeling right now? Where do I feel it in my body? What story am I telling myself about this situation? This brief moment of listening transforms your relationship with emotion. Instead of being a prisoner of the feeling, you become its master. Another essential point is learning to let go of the need for external validation. As long as your emotions are at the mercy of others' approval or rejection, your peace will always be fragile. Of course, we all want to be loved and respected, but when this need becomes the foundation for your self-worth, you become vulnerable to every comment, every look, every criticism. True strength arises when you know that your worth does not depend on any circumstance outside yourself. You exist, you feel, you are. That is enough. By freeing yourself from the need to be constantly approved, you begin to live more authentically. You can make mistakes without destroying yourself. You can learn without shame. You can grow without fear. This inner freedom is what allows you to go through even the hardest days with a serenity that is not arrogance, but a deep recognition of who you truly are. When we understand that emotions come to teach us, not to defeat us, we begin to walk a different path, a path where each emotional challenge becomes a step, not an obstacle. A path where being human, with all the vulnerability that entails, is not a source of shame but of deep beauty. You are not here to be perfect, you are here to be whole. Wholeness does not mean never feeling pain or fear again. It means that even feeling pain, even feeling fear, you remain connected to your strength, to your inner light, to your ability to go through and transform any experience. And it is in this state of full awareness that, in fact, nothing and no one can truly hurt you anymore. If this message resonated with you, if at any point you felt you found answers or paths you were looking for, I want to invite you, with all my heart, to subscribe to the channel. But not just to receive video, to become part of a community that values self-knowledge, deep transformation, and the pursuit of true inner freedom. And I want to ask you something special. Share a story of your own here in the comments. A moment when you faced a difficult emotion and were able to see beyond it, or perhaps something you just learned that made sense to you. It can be brief, it can be simple. What matters is that it is genuine. Your story might inspire others who are starting this same journey and still don't know that they are not alone. Thank you for making it this far. May this new awareness you are cultivating grow every day, and may you discover whenever you look within that you already have everything you need to be unshakable.